Well, we're not only going to help prepare original returns, we'll also be helping the taxpayers who may have been victimized by an unscrupulous so-called professional preparer. If these taxpayers will come to us and tell us what happened, we'll help them file a 1040X. Now, this 1040X is a small yellow form that gets right to the subject of the error that's made in the first place. And it will correct the previous return. It is a simple thing to do, and nobody should hesitate to call on us to help them.
For 3 weeks, the Dallas City Council has been straddling the fence on the county proposal to seize control here on the War on Poverty Agency. Mayor Wes Wise promised that the council would make up its mind just as soon as the OEO released its DCA investigation. Well, that OEO report is out, and the thrust of its recommendation is complete reorganization of the DCA Board of Directors. So what is the city's answer to the county? Councilman George Allen told Channel 8 News today that the majority of city councilmen are against the county takeover idea. The councilmen are expected to take a formal position after they receive an OEO briefing on Monday. On the county side, Judge Lou Sterrett says he's going to wait and see what happens at the DCA board meeting Saturday before the county makes another move. According to Judge Sterrett, the OEO has finally taken a tough stand, and the judge wants to see if it's going to stick. Martha McIntire, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Dallas Community Action Agency.
When an automobile engine is running, there are several pollutants being put into the air we breathe. Among them, carbon monoxide, unburned hydrocarbons, nitric oxides, and lead oxide. Among the most dangerous, apparently, over a long period of time, is the lead oxide. This is a poisonous pollutant bearing down on the human body, which can stand just so much. Overall, in the metropolitan Dallas-Fort Worth area, automobiles contribute between 60 and 70% of the air pollution. Reduction of lead in the gasoline, according to the Air Quality Control Board, would cut the pollution only about 5%. It would, however, take the most harmful pollutant out of the air. The state of California, apparently now anti-pollution experts, has gone a step further. Emission control devices are now required on all automobiles if they are purchased new, if they change hands, or if they're imported from out of state. Figures there show that there has been no decrease in air pollution recently, but then again, there has been no increase, as has been the case in years past. Why lead in gasoline in the first place? Well, it's used primarily to increase the octane rating. There are several majors of company across the area that are offering low-lead gasolines. Its octane rating is near to that of a regular grade, but in most cases, it costs more than regular. For Dallas, the ordinance passed last Monday was a beginning, but apparently only just that. The council has committed itself to taking the next step, whatever it might be. Still several years away is implementation of a federal ruling that all cars have a catalyst to reburn the pollutants. Indications are that these catalysts will work only with low-lead gasoline. Well, if trends continue, in a few years you and I will be paying more for our cars, more for our gasoline. But then again, maybe we'll be able to live a little bit longer to enjoy what we have left. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, downtown Dallas.
The tabulation of votes in the election has just ended here at City Hall. Fort Worth City Secretary Roy Bateman, overseeing the count, said the final boxes were not completed until this afternoon because one of the voting machines had been locked in a warehouse overnight. The final figures still show both issues, the bus company purchase and the new central library, receiving approval of all voters. However, when only the property owners' votes are counted, $6,860,000 for a new central library failed by over 1,300 votes. City Attorney S.G. Jondro says the city has no hope in contesting the election in court due to an opinion issued by the Texas Attorney General in 1971. The Attorney General has never certified a bond election in which a majority of property owners voted against the bonds. So the city will now go into the bus business, but a new library is out. An estimated additional 9 cents per $100 valuation in taxes to retire the bond indebtedness for both issues in the election will now be reduced to about 3 cents or 4 cents per $100 valuation in new taxes. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move in Fort Worth.
Well, I just felt in order, really, I had been told that Southwest Conference schools were mostly football powers, and I just felt in order for SMU to be known nationally in basketball, they need a few top players like Hervey, Crippled, and I felt I could help them also. And besides, it's at home right here where I can, where I build my family.
Which school recruited you as heavily as SMU?
Well, mostly all of the Southwest Conference schools. I don't think there's any school that has recruited me as heavily as SMU. They did more recruiting than any other school that I've been in contact with. But I'd say maybe University of Texas, they did quite a bit, and North Texas State, I talked to several coaches from there quite often.
Mr. Terrell, I guess you're proud of this moment. You have a number of children. Does Ira give you as much pride as any of the older ones?
Well, he gives me a great deal of pride, and of course I have a lot of pride in all of my kids, but because for the most part they've all been very successful, and my wife and I both are very pleased.
Are you glad to see him attending a school in your home where you can come and watch him play?
I like to go through the same thing during the next basketball season that I did in the past, because we missed very few games, and we enjoy seeing him play.
Well, really, the time pressure on us is really intense. We really have to be ready anytime after yesterday to be able to begin the process of convincing the NHL Board of Governors that we'd have an arena to play in if they grant us a franchise. I don't think we have a lot of selling to do about the area. They see the area as the #1 area, I believe, that they'd like to have a franchise in. I don't think we have anything any problems in selling who the people are, who Bobby Folsom is, or Lindsay Embry, or Lonnie Pollock, or Joe Gary. I think that those people, tell their own tale. But the arena is the pivotal thing. And I think if we have the arena, we'll get the franchise. But getting an undertaking of that size really started to the point, or even committed to the point, where we can convince that Board of Governors that, yeah, there will be an arena to play in. It's going to be a tough job.
a new infusion of young leadership into the community. I think it will mean a new image for Dallas with this fine group of young people representing the city on so many important occasions. I think it definitely will mean a closer relationship between the old worn-out leadership like me and the young enthusiastic leadership like this.
What's the new council going to do specifically?
They're going to be involved in a great variety of chamber projects, in selling Dallas to the outside world, in greeting and meeting with important visitors to Dallas, and soliciting new business interests for Dallas, and in all kinds of projects that affect the well-being and the growth of the community.
As big as the state of Rhode Island, 50, 60 miles across, making these huge impacts, making these huge holes, throwing out debris all over the surface. I think that we're also seeing more similarities with the Earth than we thought we were before, and we are at last, I think, within 2 or 3 years of getting a reasonable sort of evolution of the whole moon. Being able to see the early history of a planet rather like the Earth, namely the moon, and having that history obscured on the Earth itself, we can learn a great deal more about the early history of the Earth. What sort of rocks were being formed, how the Earth's crust was formed, what sort of processes concentrated the elements that we find in the Earth's crust. There are similarities among the rock types that we find on the moon and some of the oldest rock types on Earth. And I think this will get us to understand processes on Earth such as the formation of the core, how the crust was formed, and generally push the Earth sciences, the study of our own Earth, ahead enormously through our study of the moon. So studying the moon is not an isolated thing just to find out about the moon itself. It has much, much bigger implications.
It was the city attorney's opinion that the man was not qualified under the provision of the charter which says that you cannot be in arrears in any liability to the city. As a lawyer, I felt I had to accept the opinion of the man that we pay as a city to render legal opinions, and I would have been irresponsible as a public official had I not interpreted the law and followed it to the letter